Welcome back everyone, and it's still here, the BMW f650gs, and that's because we've got these to fit. So let's have a go. So this is what I have acquired. They are Continental TKC 70s for this BMW. So we'll get them split apart. And I'll get my little tyre fitting machine, which is me. Not really, this is it. It's got a bead breaker on it as well. There. And I've just wrapped a bit of this cloth around it so it doesn't damage rims and stuff. Been ages since I've used it, full of cobwebs. Right. What's next? I'm going to get the other tyre and wheel, and we're going to try and split it off. It's obviously got inner tubes in this because it's spoked, so we'll try not to destroy the inner tube, or we're going to need a new one of them as well. So that's the next job. First of all, we're going to get rid of all the air, and if you've seen one of these before, look how good this is. So it's got a cap that you can undo the valve as well. Pretty good. BMW thought of everything. Let's see if it works. There we go. Pardon? Right, so we'll put this safe so we don't get any muck in it. You can hear all the tyre crunching and groaning. Usually you don't really need to break off the bead on a tubed tyre because they're not really designed to have the bead stick, because they don't need it because of the inner tube that's inside. So I'll just flip it over. So at least this one ain't fighting me yet. Right, I think we're in shot, most of it. That's a fork leg, if anybody wants to know, because I've got my bike on table and I'm doing this on table as well. So I'm going to put some of these in, which will hopefully save the rim as I try and lever it over. You don't need to, but you know, it'll help putting big gouges in your rim. Just chuck a few of these in. You can see where I've used it before. You know, it doesn't half on some tyres cut in. Some right pressure on them. I'm trying to take them off by hand. We'll start with the small stuff, just these spoons. And if we need to get bigger, we'll progress to the bigger tyre lever set that I've got there. Well, let's hope it just starts to come off. So we'll get this behind there. And press it down. So you want to be pushing it down. See this part of the wheel here. See on camera if I can point it out better. So this part of the wheel comes in. So that's the thinnest part of the wheel. So you want your tyre pushed down and into that thinnest part all the way around. You don't want it sat right up on this edge. So that's why I'm squeezing it down all the time. And then that spoon goes in. Try and miss the inner tube so you're not grabbing the inner tube as well. Use the spoon or the lever, whatever you've got, and then we'll go in again if we can, there, and we'll go again, hold them two together again, keep making sure it's all pressed down. This is where you need 5 arms, 3 legs. Oh, there we go. See, that's trying to pop off. So we need it in there again. We're in. There we go. So now the middle lever's gone loose. Again, keep making sure it's all at the thinnest part. Make it easier for us. These are trying to squidge their way away. Oh dear, we've lost one. Never mind. I'll try and get in again. We're in. And that's starting to come off now, completely. You do need a bit of force to try and make it go, and then we'll start lifting at it. There we go. Right, next thing, we're going to remove the inner tube and we'll check that. See if there's any cuts or marks in it that we need to repair. So we'll just spin it that way a bit so you can see. So on the inner tube there's either a nut or something like that on to hold it in position. Something like that, or something nailed so you can get your fingers on and undo it, which is threaded. Now that'll move in and out. Keep everything safe, don't want to lose it. So I'm going to poke it in until she disappears. Get his hand inside. And lift it over. There we go. Now that's out of the way, put that back on so we know where it is, and I might just actually screw back in the valve inside so I don't lose it. Put that safe. Now we've got to do the same again and pull it over from the bottom of the rim. So I'm going to put these rim protectors back in again. What they're meant to have on is a bit of string on there, and you tie that string up to round here. Now let's have a look, have we got any string? So yeah, that goes through there and then you tie it off or you hook it on something so it's nice and tight if you can. It is difficult to do it all at once, but when you're prying at it, this is trying to drag itself inside the tyre, and the other ones have been chopped about and stuff, but anyway, that's what you're meant to do. Pull it in, tie it off over here somewhere. Right, I've tied these off in a fashion, so hopefully they don't drop inside. And we'll try and use these spoons again, they work pretty well. So we're trying to lift it up now to this thinnest part again. So the bottom of the tyre is inside there inside this thinner part. So now it's set there, we want to get this spoon all the way down, or lever, until it's right through and underneath the bottom of the edge of the tyre, the lip of the tyre. And then we're going to try and peel it over. Again, trying to keep that middle in line there. And we're going to do the same again. Again, like I said, it's pretty difficult. Got that in. And so we're trying to drag it up over again. Probably needed another one in here. And go for it again. There we go. So now middle one's come loose. Just on the edge of the rim there, but there's not a lot of pressure left in this now because it started. So yeah, that's sort of how you do it. And then undo all these. So get off, there we go. Grabbing my tyre, there we go. So it's off. And now it's the reverse. On these type of spoked rims, you get a wheel rim rubber that goes over the spokes, if you can see in the camera there. And this rubber just protects the end of the spokes underneath from jabbing in the inner tube that goes inside. So I just thought I'd mention that. And also some tyres have a little dot, a little coloured dot on the side of the rim. I'll show you one that has got one. The ones that we have are going to fit on this don't actually have it, but if you can see on this one, a bit bigger one, it's got a red dot on it, and that denotes the lightest point on the tyre. So you put that lightest point where the valve goes, because that would be the heaviest point on the rim. So the heaviest point on the rim, the lightest point on the tyre, which then balances it out, or it's meant to balance it to a point so you don't have to put as many wheel weights on. On the inner tube ones, a little bit different, because we've got rubber as well that runs round, and we've got a rubber inner tube, and we've got a valve. Possibly that's maybe the reason why they don't actually put a dot on them, or maybe they do on newer ones. I haven't seen them on the older ones. But there you go. So now you know why the dot is on the tyre. If you ever see a dot on a tyre, it means that it's the lightest point of the tyre. So you put that part to the heaviest point on the rim, which is going to be where the valve is, because that's a little extra bit on the rim. So now you know, even if you don't want to know. Right, we've mixed a little bit of, I was going to say glue then, but it's not glue. We've mixed a bit of soap up, just your normal dish soap, washing up liquid, tiny little bit of water. There is some special stuff for fitting tyres, but this is as good as what you need. So, and that's just to make everything slide a bit better and slip on. So we're going to brush this all the way around. Don't need a massive amount on. It just helps everything slip on. We're going to do the same to the tyre. And check for the direction of the tyre as well. So It should have a little arrow on. Some of them are multi-directional tyres, some aren't. There we go, make it nice and slippy. So we're going to have a look now. The disc is on the bottom, the disc is on that side of the bike, so that is the orientation of this wheel. So we're looking on the tyre to see where the orientation of that is. So we've found the arrow, which is there. There's the arrow. So it says front orientation that way. So now we're going to try and get this on. Move it away from this caliper a bit. Right. Squidging it. You just need to get it as far as you can on. Sometimes they actually do just pop on the bottom ones by pressing it. Again, trying to keep that the other side of the tyre in the thinnest point. There we go, popped on. Right, easier. So now we're coming back to the inner tube. So we need to put that in next. We've checked the inner tube, see if there's any marks or lumps or bumps, cuts on it, that if it needs replacing, and it doesn't, it seems fine. Obviously checking the rim as well before putting it on. I don't know if I mentioned that. Check all the rim for any marks and cuts and knock them off, sand them down. If that rim tape, rim rubber that protects the spokes coming through to the inner tube, if that's ripped or got marks, because they do degrade even though they're inside, rip it off, start again, put another one on. It's a matter of £3 to £5 for another one, and it's well worth it, so you'd have to take your tyre off again. So right, I'm going to take the valve cap off and that little nut that was on it there. Put them safe again. Find where the valve hole is. Where's it gone? It can't have disappeared. There we go, it's here. So yeah, try and make sure that this, when it goes down as well, try and make sure that this goes pretty flat like this. Sometimes they get lumps and bumps and creases in them and stuff, and it's a nightmare to get them back smooth again. So right, I'm waffling. Let's try and get it back in now. So you start off this is where your knuckles get knocked and banged up, but you know, that's the name of the game. So I keep feeding it in bits. Try not to get it cross-hobbled and knots and stuff in it. I'm sure you won't. Keep feeding it round. Try and keep that in place as well there, in line with that all the time. If it's not quite in line, give it a wobble, because you won't believe how much friction there would be once it's inside to try and drag it around again. You virtually have to pull it all out, start again. And you don't want the tyre valve like on an angle like that, because then it's going to be chafing all the side of the valve. So we're getting somewhere near now. There we go. Again, keeping that valve as near to there as possible of the hole. trying to now poke it back through. This is where everything's crushing your hands, and probably I'm in the way and you can't see anything. Come on, there we go. So we've got that back in. So like I said, now you're all banged up on your knuckles trying to push the bottom of the tyre down and press that in at the same time. But it's not that hard. Just have to persevere. Let's put this back on so it doesn't pop back through. We don't want it too tight though. We want an allowance of movement, because what we want to do is we want this to be allowed to move back in a bit. In fact, what I'll do is I'll put it right to the end. So it's just on a bit, so it's not going to fall in. And then what we can do is when this part goes behind the rim and like onto the bead part of it, you then get your inner tube behind that as well, because what you don't want to do is squash your inner tube in between this face and the rim. So if you do that, when you pump it up, you probably nip it up and then pull it apart, you know, and rip it. So you want that pressed in, and that's the point I always start from to try and get this tyre. I'll just add a little bit more to try and get this tyre back onto the rim. So I'm just going to add a bit more of this juice so it all slips in. It's only soap, so don't matter where you get it, you know what I mean. But you want it as easy as possible for yourself. So if it's dried up, it's going to cause friction. It's going to be harder to fit this tyre. You need it slippy as possible, and that all the way around this edge wants to be slippy as well. So it's not a lot, it's just that when it dries up, it's a swine to put on, which I've done before. That's how I've learned. So right, we're going to try and get this started by hand, which is not easy. There we go. Started, and then this side. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, keep checking as well that there, that the inner tube obviously can move. You can see it can move, so it's not got nipped up there. Sometimes you can actually just press them on, but I very much doubt I'm that lucky on this one. Now, right, let's get these rim protectors back on if we can. There we go. There's one on. There's another one on. Right, let's see if we can do it with two. Right, get these spoons in. So slippy now. Right, so this is this one. Off we go. It might be a bit far away, but come on, pop on and don't move. There. Right, and now we'll go for that side. Probably move it around a bit more to there. Just trying to lift. Come on. And this is where you need another man. Because it's so far apart now. Let's see if I can get my elbows on it. Right, managed to get this one out and this one flicked in, but you can see how difficult this last bit is to get this over. So I might be some time trying to wiggle this in, and then, because we need to stop the tyre from another bit in. It's eating one of the rim protectors, but we're not far off there. We can just pop it on. There we go. Whew. Right. And that's where I could have done with another man just to hold that one in place, because I had it on my elbow, and as you saw, I had to flick the camera off and put them back in again because I was struggling. And then anyway, so that's how you do it. So I probably made it look very hard at the end there, but it does pop in. Real life, eh? Not showing you how you do it by pretend when somebody else comes in and helps you, doing it on your own and actually showing you the failures. That's what I'm doing. Yep, I do like to show real life, really how everyone else would do it. So on here as well, what we're going to do is we're going to leave that loose until we start getting a bit of air back in it and we know it's all seating correctly. All around the rim we're going to put some more soap on, front and back, side and side, sorry, front and back. So this will, again, let it slip into its natural position. Again, what we don't want is it to be getting stuck as we inflate it. There we go. That'll slide nice now. There we go. The airline on. Just put a bit in for now. Just checking that we're not pumping up offline anywhere. I don't think we are. That's fine. Just check that there's usually a line all the way around on the tyre edge, and just check if it's even all the way around. If it's even all the way around, then it's been pressed outwards quite evenly. We'll get some air in it now, because we know that's seated correctly now. Just going to take it up to about 30 just for now, and then we'll do the rest later if we need any more in or not. 30 is enough to get it rolling. Screw that back on there. Again, don't go over tight on anything. It's only you're only tightening onto a bit of rubber, pulling a bit of rubber into it, so finger tight is enough so it don't move. That'll do, and then we'll just double check that the valve inside is tight. Yep, that's tight. Put it back on so we don't lose it. You can see there's no bubbles or anything coming out from around here, so there's no leaks. See if we can get this off of here without tipping up again. Let's check the rear. The rear, keep saying rear. Check the other side. See, there's a line all the way around there. That's nice and even. So it's not gone cockeyed one way and a lump on it. Spot on. That's it. That's the first tyre done. Hope I made it look easy. Knowing me, maybe not. But we got the job done. That's the main thing. Right, I'm going to take the rear tyre off. I may balance these. I've got a balancing this little A-frame thing that I've got. And you can balance your tyres yourself at home. That's worth having. But I don't know if it'll take this size wheel in it. Although I don't think it's that big. This one, what size is it? 19 inch. We'll have a look, see if it does. If it does, I'll show balancing it as well. But at the moment, what we're going to do is going to take the back wheel off, and we'll do the same again, replacing the tyre. Right, that's that done. Pretty easy, as you could see. Just took this little section of mudguard off, and then a 19mm on this side, 24 on the other. Give it a good crack, undo it, push the wheel forward, remove the chain off one side, knock the spindle through, pull it out that side, and just withdraw the wheel. Quite easy. And there's the little cush drive rubbers and the sprocket, and that just slots in as well and slots back out. So now we're on to this dirty thing. Right, same again. We'll remove this valve. And take off the little gnarled nut. There we go. And you'll see, I might even try and wear some gloves this time. Right, see if we can press it down. This one looks like we're more stuck. Yep. Right, we're a bit stuck. So we're going to have to try and use this bead breaker. Do is we're going to add a bit of soap. Right, if anybody noticed, it was on a bit of an angle. Well, many years ago, we had a bit of a tough tyre to take off, and I suppose we must have put one hell of a load of pressure on it. So one day I'll have to straighten that back out. But we're still working, so we're still going. There we go. Yeah, they're not very supple, these tyres. There we go. There we go. That is a stiff tyre. Got a dab on now. Right, I've given it a quick clean this because it was really grubby. It's come up quite nice. Not perfect, but we'll give it a real good clean before it goes in for its MOT. Right, same thing again. Orientation of the wheel is that way, so we want the arrow running that way again. That's the first bit done. So we've got that in again, the valve. Trying to keep all this inner tube really flat. I think on this one, because it's quite tough, I might try and do it without the rim protectors on, because these spoons are quite good at protecting anyway. Oh, we're on. Wow, last bit was pretty difficult, but you can see if you had two people on it, one to hold that down there. I mean, I had it tucked under my arm most of the time trying to hold it. But it's on. And there we go. So we're just going to do the same again like we did with the first one. Make sure that this valve is straight and we're not getting caught. See if we've got any air left in the compressor. What I'll do is I'll put a bit more juice around here. It's drying up. Although 30 psi. just for now. Tighten that up. There we go. Right, well that's it. 2 tyres on. All we've got to do now is put them on the bike. But just before that, like I said earlier, let's have a go at balancing them with my little A-frame balancing device. I'll show you that. So this is what I was on about. It's a little manual tyre balancing machine. And it's on a A-frame, which you can fold the back leg in and put it away. It folds nice and flat, and the spindle goes from approximately 12mm up to 30mm. It's on a cone, so the more you push it in, the higher it rises. You know, I think if you see that, you can tell how it works. This is just to tighten it in when it's not in use. So you undo them, pull this out, put it on the rollers at the top, and you try and keep it as balanced as possible, as in level, this way. And it's also got a run out gauge on it as well. It's only crude, but it's it does work. You know, you can tell if when you spin it, if your wheel's moving in and out, and this will tell you if it is or it isn't. But we may be using that. We'll have a little look at it to see if it is or it isn't. I can't see it being out much, even if it is. So we're going to get this tyre on there, and we'll see if we can balance it. Alright, we've got it on. We'll put the cones tight in on both sides, locked them off with a little Allen key, and then we'll put these spacers on as well and lock them off. So I haven't taken the original weights off because you never know, they could have been absolutely perfect. So what you do with it is put it to the top where the weights are there, and see the weights? There's the weights. So I'll put the weights to the top and we'll see if it falls. And it is. So it's falling on its own to there and back again. So what you do is you'd put some weights at the top. And you start off with something like 5 grams of weights, and you just stick it to the top there and then do it again. But as it is, that is falling, but it's not falling all the way to the bottom. Let's see, and then it goes back again. So we'll try it the other way. Trying to make it fall this way. And it doesn't want to, you see. Even though the weights were here, it's now trying to go all the way over. So showing that there is a heavy spot somewhere, and it'll settle there. And that is the heavy point. So you'd need to counteract it, you'd have to put your weights at the top there. So then that is as heavy as that. So what I'm going to do is going to remove them weights and we're going to try again. Right, I've just got rid of the wheel weights and then took all the backing off of it with a little bit of solvent, and so that's all gone. I thought I'd just show you the wheel run out as well. You can hear it just touching. So I think that's pretty good, to be honest. For a spoked wheel, hardly anything. There might be a less than a half a mil that it's got on it somewhere, but that could even just be a bit of a defect in the actual joining of the rim when it's been welded together. So I think that's perfect, that. And we'll get rid of that. Get that out of the way, and then we'll see where we're balancing again. So spin it and then see where it falls. Alright, so we're looking at about there. What I'll do is I'll just stick a little bit of tape on if I can find it. Alright, we'll put a mark on there and a bit of tape on where it settles. Then we'll try it again. I'm going to do a full rotation. Yep, so it's settled again exactly the same place. Let's do a full rotation the other way. Alright, so that's somewhere near. Again, that's now changed a little bit to there. Try it again. Let's check on these as well that they're not touching. I'll just make sure they're not catching on anything. Yep. Try it again. So on that orientation it falls that way, and on the other one it falls the other way. So it looks to be, so when the wheel falls that way, that way around, it's this mark, and when the wheel falls that way around, it's that mark. So we can guesstimate that it's right in that middle there. So if we set that to there, all we need to do now is stick on some weights above here. So I'll go get some weights, and we'll start off with 5 gram on this side and 5 gram on that side, and we'll go from there. Right, I've stuck 5 grams on this side and 5 grams on that. The reason we use this tape as well is because we'd ruin a set of weights that we want to put on every time we stick them on and take them off. If we put too many on, obviously we'll rip some off, we'd have to throw them in the bin because they're only a one-time use thing. So if we use the masking tape, we can stick them on with the masking tape and then find out how much weight that we do need and where we need the weight, and then just write it on the masking tape exactly where we want them, and then as we remove it we can put on a 10 gram and a 5, and then maybe a 10 and a 5, something like that, or maybe even we had to put some there and there. So we'll just check this 5 gram on each side and see if it's doing any difference, because if it was even, you see, it wouldn't be doing that. So the weight at the bottom is more than the 10 gram above. So we're going to now replace these with a 10 and a 10, and we'll keep going until we find the sweet spot. All right, now we've got, this is the what you saw before as the top, this is now at the bottom. We've got a 10, a 10, a 10 and a 10, and we can make it sort of stop anywhere now. and not just with that weight at the bottom, so we can make it go to there. I'll just rock backwards and forwards and not fall. There we go. So it's not falling there. So we've made the weight stop there, there, and there. And there. So it's just settling anywhere now. It's not settling to a lowest point where there's a weight at the bottom and no weight at the top. So I think that's about good enough on this wheel. So I'm happy with that. See, not falling anywhere. So the weights stop anywhere now. And that's what we want. We want to be able to spin it, and these weights will be anywhere. It'll end up there, spin it, keeps going, and it'll end up there, spin it, and it'll end up there, which then means that the wheel is balanced. So that's the rear tyre and wheel balanced. All I'm going to do now is mark on here where I'm going to put the weights and stick them on. 2 on this side and 2 on the other. And that's the finished product. Nice and neat, and a balanced wheel. So now we're going to get on with the other one. Right, so the bigger wheel did fit on there. It'd probably go up maybe another couple of inches. So if this is a 19 inch, then probably take a 21 inch. This still, so I don't think they're going to be getting much bigger than that on one of these. So just checking nothing's touching. There we go. Give it a turn and see what happens. So again, I've not taken the wheel weights off the originals because you never know, it could be balanced. But I seem to see it speed up there quite a bit. And back again. And back again. I'll slow it down to quicken it up. There, quicken the process up. So it looks like it's settling exactly where the wheel weights are. Is it going to come back? Yeah, it is. So, right, we're going to get rid of these. Right, so I've got rid of the old wheel weights and it's settling there. So we're just going to try it again, putting 5 grams here, 5 grams there, taping it on, checking it again. If not, go up to 10 grams, 10 grams. If not, add another 5, so 15, 15, add another, that's it as we go along. So there might be, again, 20, 20 on this one, but we'll start off with 5. Right, so it's ended up at 15 on this side and 10 on that side, and it kept settling around here, so we had to add another one just after the valve of 5 on that side, and then now it seems to be absolutely perfect. So there we go, that's all done. All I've got to do now is fit them back on the BMW. So I hope that was a bit informative for everybody on how to fit some tyres. So you'll all be able to go away, buy your own tyres and fit them and balance them now you've watched this video, hopefully. But next time I think you see this bike, we'll probably be going to camp out on it, or maybe doing a test ride or a review or something along them lines, just to tell you about it. So hope you like what you've seen, and like and subscribe and all that good stuff, and I'll catch you next time. Goodbye.